Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Google Hangout. My name is Anna Seitzer, and today I'm going to be conducting a professional development session on tackling the legal, ethical, and social issues of technology in the classroom. So let's go ahead and get started. I prepared a Prezi for today that I will also have the link to this Prezi on my webpage if you want to access it separately after we finish this session. So to get us started today, we're going to go ahead with the legal issues. So what is fair use? Fair use is designed to benefit teachers who are using technology in their instruction by providing legal guidelines for what is okay to use without permission. This is determined on a case-by-case basis and must meet these 4 factors. The purpose of the use is for nonprofit educational purposes. The nature of the copyrighted work is primarily nonfiction/factual. The amount of the work used is a small quantity compared to the whole, and the effect does not harm the market or value of the copyrighted work. So to further help break this down for you in the classroom, I have prepared this flow chart that can be used as a little checklist to go down and once you have found a resource that you would like to use. So the purpose of use. Is it dedicated to instruction or educational nonprofit, or is it the purpose intended to be commercial/profit, and do you have the intent to deny source credit? We have to remember it can be easy to forget, but always give credit to the source. The nature of the use. Is it mostly factual and nonfiction published work, or is the work highly creative, fiction, and not yet published? The amount used, small fraction of the whole, or a large portion or whole. Effective use on the potential market. You make a limited number of copies and it is not marketed by the owner. Or do you repeatedly use this resource, make many copies, and it could be damaging to sales? So just anytime you're having some issues determining fair use, this is a great little flowchart just to go down and check off and make sure you are meeting those 4 factors for determining fair use or unfair use. So, what is the Creative Commons? The Creative Commons is an awesome tool for helping educators in fair use. Creative Commons is a nonprofit organization, and their goal is to provide an alternative to the copyright barriers of the 21st century. The web is full of resources, as we are all well aware, but fair use can be very hard to determine and steer educators away from accessing the web for resources. But that's where the Creative Commons comes in as their alternative. They provide a unique platform for individuals and organizations to use their licensing to express what rights they reserve and waive. So it breaks it down for you, makes it easy. All you have to do is make sure you read the fine print and what rights, to make sure you know what rights the creator reserves and what they waive. It will tell you right there on the site, which is awesome. You don't have to even necessarily use that checklist. You just have to make sure you meet their requirements. The idea is the full potential of the internet is reached through creative collaboration and increased accessibility to various works. Really lets us work together in this global digital society and collaborate and share our resources and be creative together. Their whole basis is community, collaboration, and sharing to build an innovative global society. So, Creative Commons in the classroom. Creative Commons has their own open education program that serves as a global movement to allow access to learning materials on the web for free. Free is the word we as teachers all love to hear. The ability to revise and adapt OER resources ensures students are receiving up-to-date education that will meet their individual needs. Meaning once you have access to a resource, if you notice it might be a little out of date, the information may be a little inaccurate, you can revise it and update it so you know your students are receiving the most accurate information possible. You can also adapt the resource to meet the individual needs of your students. So make sure that it applies to all the different learning styles you have going on in your classroom. Teachers can collaborate across distances, meaning we don't just now work with the teachers within our own school or even our district. We can collaborate with teachers all around the globe. It is truly amazing. And we also aren't limited by lack of school funding, which is huge. We all can be so frustrated and feel set back by that, but these resources are free and we must take advantage of them. So just for a little quick tutorial, I do have the link right here to oercommons.org, which is provided by Creative Commons on their website. I'm just going to give you guys a quick tutorial for navigating this awesome search tool for locating open educational resources. So for my example, you go, this is the homepage, takes you right to the search tool, asks you, what are you looking for? So say I am looking for a rhyming lesson for my phonics unit. I would type rhyming into the search bar, then it's subject. I would select English Language Arts, education level. If it's for a first grade lesson, I would select lower primary. Then the standard, I will be using Common Core State Standards English Language Arts. And then I hit search. So it came up with 3 results for my specific search. So just for an example, I'll select this first one, teaching short vowel discrimination using Dr. Seuss rhymes. So it takes me to this web page where I can view the resource. Also gives me some more background, including the author, subject, the provider, level and grade, material type, media format, and a quick abstract. Here we have the standards that it applies to. But right here on the left side is where we really need to pay attention, especially for this PD session. The conditions of use. It tells you the copyright holder, user guidelines, and what rights are reserved and waived. So all images, text, programs, and other materials found in the Read, Write, Think website are protected by the U.S. copyright laws and are owned or licensed by the International Reading Association or the National Council of Teachers of English. And here it says, educators may use and make a limited number of copies of the website images, text, programs, and other materials for non-commercial classroom and instructional use and in support of the program. All other rights are reserved. So we just have to make sure we read that little section there, the conditions of use, and it breaks everything down for us. And we notice this does apply to our fair use checklist because it says limited number of copies and non-commercial use. Those are critical. So moving right along, we'll go into ethical issues. The digital divide. There is a digital divide occurring in our schools right now, and it needs to be recognized. A digital divide is present in K-12 public education in the U.S. between socioeconomic status, gender, and ethnicity. Research shows a digital divide among high and low SES, white and non-white, and females and male students. Several studies have shown students of high SES, white students, and female in comparison to male outperform their peers in their technology skill development. The digital divide is multi-layered. It is made up of access of technology, usage of technology, and skill. However, the focus is shifting as the access gap seems to be closing, meaning all schools with low and high SES now seem to have access to technology. However, the gap among student applications and digital skill development seems to be widening, and this is a serious problem. Data shows students of low SES use technology for repetitive skill practice compared to high SES students participating in more complex applications. Schools with a lower percentage of students who receive free and reduced lunch use technology in a way that promotes higher order thinking, and technology facilitators are also are found to be concentrated at schools with a lower percentage of students receiving free and reduced lunch, meaning the students with a high percentage of students receiving free and reduced lunch or of low SES aren't receiving those same skill applications and benefits of having a technology aid in the classroom guiding their teacher and the students. It is critical that educators address this issue in order for their students to be successful in this 21st century technology-driven global society. If we are truly going to prepare our students to be successful in life, we have to let them develop their skills in technology because it is so evident in our society. If you can't manipulate technology and apply higher order thinking using the technology, then you are sufficiently behind. So, what can we as teachers do in the classroom to bridge this digital divide? Teachers must effectively use technology to promote higher order thinking in their classrooms to maximize impact for all students. We must move beyond the novice uses of technology and challenge all students to grow in their skills. We have to encourage our students to apply themselves, but more importantly, we need to provide these opportunities versus just logging them onto the computer for a half hour here and there, just to repetitively do drill practice and skill reinforcement. We have to let them explore new technology and take part in innovative applications. Provide adequate time per week for students to use technology in the classroom, meaning so many studies have showed students maybe get an hour a week, and that is so far from sufficient for today's standards in technology. We have to allow that time for students to be able to use and manipulate technology. We as teachers need to engage in all professional development opportunities for technology, which you are all doing right now, so congratulations. Partner with local community organizations to provide outreach programs on technology, meaning we as the schools can take initiative and partner up with different businesses in the community to provide outreach, not just for our students, but for the families of our students, the parents, and just all community members to educate themselves and skill development, because it is so critical in today's society. Provide after-school opportunities for students. Many of our schools already have after-school programs, which is awesome, but we should provide an option for students that is technology-based that they can participate in. This would be especially beneficial for those students who don't have internet access or a computer or iPad or mobile device at home that they can use. Many of us, we forget that there are students out there who may not have internet access at home. So school is the only place that they have this opportunity. And if we're not providing that time in the classroom, after school can be a great alternative, especially to get that extra time in to supplement the classroom instruction. We should also integrate technology in the curriculum whenever possible. This means we as teachers need to step out of our comfort zones and make sure our students are getting every opportunity they can to grow in their skills. We need to grow in our skills and further develop our own technology knowledge in order for our students to grow. The social issues. Acceptable use policies. What are they and why are they so important? AUPs are used to address the concerns of internet use in schools and recognize potential for misuse by students and staff. AUPs don't just apply to students, they apply to we as teachers and administrators as well. And we need to recognize that and make sure our behavior is appropriate and strictly professional. They focus on the issues and concerns regarding liability, online behavior, system integrity, and content and materials on the web. This may just sound like a lot of legal talk right now, but don't worry, I'm going to further break it down for you. So, liability. Most AUPs outline that the school is not liable for availability of service provided by the system, damages or costs incurred while using the internet, and the quality and accuracy of the content on the internet. Online behavior. This is a big one for our students and for ourselves. Students and staff should not participate in or engage with others participating in listed inappropriate behaviors while using the internet. All AUPs generally include a very low deemed inappropriate behavior on the web. Here are some of the big ones I have included: violation of copyright laws, violation of privacy rights, accessing forbidden content, signing up for online subscriptions without prior approval by teacher or administrator, and engaging in an activity that is objectionable in some way. The bottom line is the use of the internet is strictly limited to academic purposes, and all technology, I should say. System integrity. This deals with security. Ensuring system security is a high priority in AUPs. This includes viruses, vandalism, hacking, and any action that may be damaging to the network security. Students are instructed to notify an administrator of any security problem immediately. The use of another individual student's account is strictly prohibited, and consequences will follow. Materials on the web. This goes hand in hand with online behavior, but it is stressed usually as a separate item in AUPs because they are both so important. This applies to materials generated by the users and materials available to the users, so it's twofold. It goes both ways. What are our students and staff producing, and what are they accessing? Both are subject to examination by school administrators within good reason. Within good reason. That goes back to legal issues, as whether administrators are infringing on student and staff's privacy rights by looking at what they are accessing or producing. But if the administrators have any reason to believe that students or staff are participating in inappropriate behaviors and using it for non-educational purposes, they are within good reason to further examine the situation. Content cannot be deemed offensive, racist, profane, threatening, adult-oriented, sexist, sexually explicit, or objectionable in any way. So in the classroom, this is quite a long list, but that is again because it is so important. You need to familiarize yourself with your district AUP so you're able to effectively enforce it. Read the AUP, know it inside and out. If your district does not have an AUP, this is something administration needs to address ASAP. If you notice that your district does not have an accessible AUP, this is something you personally should address to your school principal or proper administrator. Review the ISTE standards for teachers and students. These are listed on my webpage that you can access from there. They're extremely important in helping teachers navigate how to properly integrate technology in their classrooms. Plan an orientation session to make your students aware of school policy expectations and educate them on how to make safe and smart decisions when using the web. This is a critical first step and should be taken care of in the beginning of the year. Let your students know what the expectations are, what the consequences would be if they violate policy, and just most importantly, just how to make safe and smart decisions. The technology is new to them as it is new to us, and it's a whole new world, and it is always helpful to have some guidelines in making those smart decisions. Involve parents in the process so they can help enforce safe web practices. This is huge. Students aren't just using technology in the classroom. They are spending a lot of time online outside of the classroom as well, and with more freedom. And educating the parents is the next step in helping them know how to properly help their kids navigating this new tool, and for them navigating, allowing their children to access the internet, but within safe guidelines. Explicitly describe what material is considered appropriate versus inappropriate. This sets the bar right away. Let the student know what they can access and what they can't. Again, with making clear that the bottom line is it is for educational purposes only. And anything that they might be unsure of, the first thing they can always do is to ask you. Inform students of appropriate speech and manners for network users. One of the great benefits of using technology is that students have this new tool that allows them to work collaboratively, and it's often used for cultural exchange projects, both which are awesome, but that is why it is our job to set our students up for success by informing them on network etiquette and how to be proper network users. Make clear the consequences that will follow inappropriate behavior. Let your students know right from the beginning what will happen and what actions will follow if they misuse the internet and go against policy. Individual conferences may be appropriate for the first offense, meaning maybe you give your student the benefit of the doubt, unless the situation is too extreme. Because maybe they just made a mistake. They were confused. Again, remember, technology is new to them too, and having an individual conference gives you the opportunity to just really have a one-on-one with that student and tell them just the dangers of the internet and why it's so important that we be safe and act appropriately. The next offense usually is then denying the access. We must remember that internet is a privilege and it can be taken away if not used appropriately. Remember, it is your responsibility to supervise students while they access the internet. You have set these expectations now, the guidelines, and made the consequences clear, and now it's your job to make sure you're supervising students and make sure they are following the expectations you have set. The ultimate goal for all of these issues is to minimize misuse and liabilities and maximize the learning potential that stems from advanced technology. That is the goal of all of these legal, social, and ethical issues that we need to keep in mind. Technology is an amazing tool, and we want to use it to maximize the learning potential of all of our students, but that's why it's critical that we are aware of the potential issues and misuses. A helpful link I provided is from Kent County Public Schools here in Maryland. They have their acceptable use policy online that anyone can access. It is a great one to review, especially if your district, for whatever reason, does not have an AUP, and it can be used as a great guideline for implementing one, and just as a good one to refer to. So again, that link is right there. So next, we're going to move on to a big social issue, cyberbullying. What is cyberbullying? The National Crime Prevention Council defines cyberbullying as when the internet, cell phones, or other devices are used to send or post text or images intended to hurt or embarrass another person. One study reported that slightly more than 29% of school-age students reported being cyber victims, and 11% reported being cyberbullies. Some studies have also shown that many educators are unaware of cyberbullying. This is a huge problem. It is a serious concern because cyberbullying is a very real issue happening in our schools today, and educators need to be able to recognize when this is occurring and how to properly intervene before this case gets out of hand. I cannot stress enough how important it is that we as educators recognize that's what cyberbullying is and that it is a real issue as technology keeps increasing, and more so in the hands of our youth and our students. We need to recognize the harmful impacts as well and how this is occurring in our schools. Cyberbullying cases can cause extremely harmful social and physical ramifications for the victims, which is why it cannot be ignored. It is not just kids being kids and making silly decisions on the internet. It can have very, very serious consequences for the victims. Cases have been linked to mental health disorders, causing some kids to seek counseling, and other tragic cases even resulting in suicide. It happens more than you think, which is why we really need to educate ourselves on this issue and how to even prevent it in the first place. Which brings me to my In the Classroom section, combating cyberbullying. Schools play a critical role in ensuring the safety and well-being of all of their students. However, legal issues have arose pertaining schools' authority to intervene with cyberbullying. Case law has determined that behavior or speech can be restricted if it substantially or materially disrupts learning, interferes with the educational process or school discipline, utilizes school-owned technology to harass, or threatens other students or infringes on their civil rights. If a student is a victim of cyberbullying, there will be noticeable behavioral changes and their academics will suffer. Many students think that if they are cyberbullied and they do it after school hours and on their own devices, that the schools have no right to intervene and they'll just get away with it. But this is not the case. Cyberbullying will affect that student's behavior overall, which will translate into the classroom, and teachers will notice, and then it does become our problem, and we do have the right to take the matter into our own hands. So, some tips for teachers. Implementing school policy. Most schools and districts have their own specific cyberbullying policies now, not just bullying, but a specific one set for internet and electronic devices used for cyberbullying. If your school does not, this again is something that needs to be addressed. And here are 6 factors that are really important, 6 components to include. Specific definitions of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, including all electronic forms. The graduated consequences and remedial actions that will follow the offending parties. Procedures for reporting. Procedures for investigating. Specify that if a student's off-campus behavior results in substantial disruption of the learning environment or infringes on the rights of other students, disciplinary actions will follow. And lastly, procedures for preventing cyberbullying and promoting a positive and safe school environment. This last one is so important because it is such a critical step in preventing cyberbullying from occurring in the first place. You want to create a safe school environment where everyone feels welcome and safe, and this also goes hand in hand with procedures for reporting. Let there be a system where students, if they notice another classmate being cyberbullied, that they can report this anonymously so they don't feel they are being dragged into the situation, but they have a way of letting their teacher or administrator know what is going on. Make your students aware of the really harmful effects of cyberbullying. Promote this safe and positive school environment. Make it a place where students want to come every day. Some warning signs to look out for. So as I mentioned before, the behavioral changes. You will notice them. More than likely, their academics will suffer. Their grades will go down. You could specifically look for them if they unexpectedly stop using their device. They seem upset after going online. They appear uneasy about even coming to school. They are being abnormally withdrawn from peers and social interactions. They show an increase or decrease in eating, seem regularly depressed, and frequently attempt to go home from school. If these behaviors, if they start popping up and they become a day after day thing, and students they're distant, they don't want to communicate with the friends they usually do, and just seem extra down, it's going to be worth investigating. So responding to cyberbullying. Thoroughly investigate the situation, know what's going on. Enlist the support of a school liaison officer that will help navigate you through the process and again, determining those legal issues. Develop an appropriate and effective response for the offending party. Work with the parents of both parties. So for the offending party, you need to let the parents know the actions their child has participated in and what those consequences will be. Work with them so they can help for their student to know the consequences and why cyberbullying is not okay and will not be tolerated. For the party of the victim, the parents, help them to know that just that you are there, that you care, you are doing your part. If the situation is really serious, provide them with the legal help that they need and that they might even need to get an attorney. Keep all of that evidence, including information from cell phone providers and all social media involved. You have to have evidence, especially depending on how serious the case is. Seek advice. Reach out to school teachers from other schools and districts that you know that may have gone through a similar situation that can just help you navigate this whole process. Use informal response strategies to advocate for anti-cyberbullying awareness and how to responsibly use technology. Again, this goes back to creating that positive school climate and environment where students feel safe and where your students are educated about the harmful impacts of cyberbullying and how to be safe web users. This is so important. Going that extra mile and raising the awareness may prevent the situation from happening entirely, and that is huge. just really makes your students feel safe, makes them want to come to your classroom, lets them know that you care. It is more important than you may even realize. It is certainly worth your time. And I also wanted to mention that at the bottom here, I have provided the link to cyberbullying.org. It is a great website that is all about research for cyberbullying, and they have their own section just for educators. It is an awesome site to refer to just for helping you create that positive school climate in your classroom. And also, if you do have to face, if you have a situation of cyberbullying, that it's a great one to refer to. Here, here's the link to my Google Doc that includes all of my references for this professional development stage that you can access. I want to thank you all for listening in on my Google Hangout. I hope you all benefited and feel more familiar with the legal, ethical, and social issues of technology in the classroom. This session was not to discourage you from using technology, because there are so many positive impacts as well. But the more we are aware of these issues and the potential misuse, we are better prepared for reaching that full impact for learning with technology. Thank you again.